Hello, everyone. Thanks for being with us. My name is Matthew Terrell. I'm the Director of Field Placement in the Department of Professional Counseling, and we're very fortunate to have our graduate assistant here with us to help.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Reno, and as Matt said, I'm his graduate assistant, and I am looking forward to showing you today how to navigate Tevera. I wanted to help create something for students to show them just different aspects of Tevera and hopefully help in any way I can.
Yeah, we're very grateful that Michelle is doing this because we wanted to do something to support students in navigating Tevera, our online platform for evaluations and such. This is primarily really focused on the field placement aspect of Tevera. Tevera could be used for other things in classes as well, but this is all about field placement and Tevera. So I hope you'll use this as a resource and watch the video through for some commonly asked questions. We get a lot of frequently asked questions that this video will answer. So we also have another video doing a field placement information session. That video is all about the field placement process, how to find an internship, how to apply for an internship, what internship is all about. I highly recommend you watch that video first because this video about Tevera is going to refer to some things that are explained in the field placement information session video, also posted on our department website under the field placement tab. So I'm going to turn it over to Michelle right now, who's going to take you through Tevera.
Sure. Thank you, Matt. Okay, so I'm going to quickly share my screen. Okay, so first things first, I thought it would be important to show just how to get to Tevera. So for me, I already have it bookmarked on my computer, but I wanted to show you guys what the link would look like that you would type in. So it's going to be monmouth.tevera.app and then / or #, depending on what age you are to call it, and then another / and then log on. I'm going to click on that. And it's going to bring you to the login page. So I'm just going to type in my username, which is your student email. And then whatever your password is. Okay, so after you log into Tevera, this is the first thing you're going to see, which is its homepage. And as you can see, there's kind of a lot going on, so I'm just going to quickly break it down for you. So in the middle, you'll have these 4 tabs, and in this first one, it'll say welcome in your name, but this one will show you, if you click on here, start tutorials, there's a bunch of short videos and documents of just how to navigate different parts of Tevera. So definitely with some of the stuff we're going to talk about today. So if you have any questions, this would be a good place to start to seek answers. And then the next tab is about your timesheets. So you would click this to enter in your field placement hours. And in a little bit, I'm going to go over what a timesheet looks like and kind of just how to enter hours. In the third tab below, there's assignments, and this is where you're going to find all of your assignments for the semester. So whether that's filling out the field placement agreement, submitting your timesheets, evaluations, and I'll go into all that in just a little bit. And then lastly, there's the site placements tab. So this is where you're going to keep track of either your one site placement or if you have multiple. And this is also where you'll find the pre-application paperwork. And these tabs on the side correspond to the tabs in the middle. So the first one is the tutorials, the second one is the timesheets, the third one is the assignments, and the last one is your site placements. And then real quickly, I just wanted to show you up in the top right corner, just a few of these tabs and what they mean. So here, if you're looking for anything specific, like say you want to quickly go to your field placement agreement form, you would just type that in the search bar and it should pop up and it'll quickly navigate you to that if you're having a hard time finding it. This is where this little envelope is where you'll receive messages, like if your supervisor sends you something over to Tevera, or it'll give you like updates if they signed off on stuff. And then lastly, probably one of the most important things is the Tevera tech support. So if you have any questions, I recommend that this would be the first place you would go to. So you will click on this tab and it'll give you options to kind of like chat person that works in Tevera tech support. And they usually respond fairly quickly. Like you'll get a response probably within a day maximum. I remember I chatted somebody and I got a response just about an hour later. But it depends, but they're usually very quick with that. And also, if you wanted to send them an email, their email is support@tevera.com. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is how to access and fill out some of the pre-application field placement paperwork. And where you're going to find that is under site placements. So I'm going to click on this.
And as you're clicking on that, Michelle, I just want to point out there's a difference between pre-semester paperwork that Michelle's going to show you now and your class assignments, which would be in that other tab. Some things we're going to talk about are actual assignments for your class that just happen to be part of the field placement process also.
Thank you, Matt, for that distinction. Okay, so you'll find all of your paperwork under this like little box over here, and it'll say tasks, and it'll kind of highlight how many tasks you might have to complete. So you're going to click on that, and this is what you'll see. So I know my screen might look a little different than yours because I've already completed practicum in my internship 1. But if you're new and you're kind of starting out, all of these would say not started. And depending on which field placement course you're applying for, that's where you would start. So there's one for practicum, there's one for internship 1, 2, and even if you're going to do a third one, there's an option for that. So I'm just going to show you first what you would do is the internship field placement application. So I'm just going to click on the internship 1. I'm going to click on that. And this is what you'll see. So this application will ask you basic information, what semester you're intending to start your field placement. And so because I clicked on internship, it's asking me if it's my first, second, or third internship. Then it's going to ask you to fill out just some basic information about yourself and contact information. And then the next part is going to ask about your prerequisites before taking the field placement course. So before starting field placement, you're going to have to take at least 30 credits in our counseling program. And it's also going to ask you like if this is internship, if you completed practicum. And then there's some other questions about if you're at an addiction site or you're intending to kind of start at an addiction site. Just if you've taken certain courses for that.
And I get some questions about this, so I'm just going to clarify. Michelle is showing you internship 1 paperwork. So you need to have 30 credits in our program, and you have needed to already pass practicum to get an internship 1. If you're applying for practicum, you need to have 27 credits in the program with certain prerequisites that are listed in our field placement handbook that you can look up. And the PC 542, treatment of alcohol and drug abuse, that course can be taken either before or concurrently at the same time as you're interning at a site that has, when you're working with people with addiction or substance use. So you need to take that course if you're going to be working with that population during your internship.
Thank you. Okay, so the next section is going to ask you about which course you want to take regarding the section. So that will be the day and time of your field placement course. And it's going to ask you to fill out your top 3 choices. And when these classes are offered can be found in your MU portal. When you're searching and registering for classes, you could kind of see when the field placement courses will be offered. And what you're going to do is just put in it's just simple as putting in the section number. And these will be sent to Matt to see, and he'll hopefully, place you in your number one spot, but we ask you to put 3 because sometimes that's not always an option. But we do our best to try to work with your schedule, but that's why. And I mean, you could add a 4th and a 5th section, but sometimes there's not even that many offered. So usually it's just the top 3. And then lastly, it's just going to ask you to sign it. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so actually I can't show you how that looks like because I would need to fill out all the fields, so I apologize. But what it's going to ask you is just to put in your password for Tevera, and that's how you usually sign all the forms in it. And it's also going to ask you who you want to submit it to. Like which supervisor. And so for your field placement application, you're going to want to submit it to your academic advisor. And then lastly, there's usually going to be like a submit button at the bottom, but mine says finish later because I obviously didn't complete the form. And that is the gist of the application. So once you
final points about the application. Sorry, Michelle. The final points about the application are just to remember, as Michelle mentioned, just put the section number in. Like if it's 50, put 50. If it's section 51, just put 51. You don't need to enter the times or the professor's name or any other codes that you might find. Simply the section number. That's the most efficient way to do that. And then just as a reminder, when you send this to a reviewer, it goes to your academic advisor. A lot of students mistakenly send it to me, but your advisor needs to see this application before I do.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, so after you finish filling out and submitting the application, you're going to have to wait for the signatures for that, but there's a second step for kind of application paperwork, and that's to upload your academic audit. So before you even upload it, you have to save it as a PDF, and I'm going to quickly show you how to do that. And you're going to find your academic audit on your student portal again. Oh, sorry, my in the way. So I have my portal already up. So where you're going to find the academic audit is you're going to scroll down. You're going to go to registration. And then you'll find where it says academic audit / program eval. So you're going to click on that. And this is what you'll see. And it's going to ask you what program you want the academic audit for. And since I'm only in one program, I'm just going to click that. And then it's going to ask what work you want to include. And you're going to want to include everything that's on there. So just keep it as is. Hit submit. Okay, and your academic audit will then be, loaded up. So how to save it as a PDF? It might sound a little confusing, but bear with me. You're going to right click, and you're going to want to hit print. Okay. And so I know in the destination, you probably have whatever printer your computer's hooked up to, but there is an option to save as a PDF. So you're going to want to click that. And then hit save. And, you could kind of label it however you want and hit save for your computer. And it should be saved as a PDF then. So then you're going to want to go back to Tevera and click on academic audit and hit start. And then you'll see a screen like this, and it's going to ask you to just drop your file there. So you're going to browse your computer, click on what you want to upload, which is your academic audit, open it up, and it should be good to go. And then you're just going to hit submit, and it's as simple as that. Okay, so
and for those of you who don't know Michelle, For those of you who don't know Michelle, she was being very, very humble when she clicked on her academic audit and didn't scroll down and show you all of the grades. She has an exemplary academic audit with exceptional grades. So she wouldn't tout herself, but I'm going to.
Thank you, Matt. He's right. I wouldn't do that, but thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so that is it for the application paperwork. So while you're waiting to get, signatures and approval for both of those documents, this is when you would start searching for a site ultimately. And I would recommend starting, pretty way in advance, especially now with the pandemic. It's a little more difficult to find a site. So I would just recommend starting to search as soon as possible. And once you secure a site, then there's other paperwork you're going to have to fill out before the course even starts. And that's what I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to go back to the home page, which is this little kind of 4-tab button. And to find your next set of paperwork you're going to have to fill out, it's going to be under your site placements. Oh no, I'm just kidding. Don't mind me. It's going to be under assignments. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is what your assignments tab would look like. So it might be a little overwhelming to look at. I know mine's a little lengthy because I had 2 sites at one point, but actually I'll show you, so if you have multiple kind of courses going on like I do right now, you could go up here and kind of click on the one you want. So I'll go to the one I'm in now. It might be a little less, overwhelming. So this is what it'll look like I said. And the first thing you're going to want to do is upload your liability insurance. And that could be found either through ACA, and it's HPSO or HPSO. Okay, I always got the letters mixed up. And once you kind of get your liability insurance, you should have a copy of that they'll send you, and this is where you'll upload it. So I'll just show you really quickly. You're going to click on that and just hit open. And even though mine's completed, it's like the same kind of screen as your academic audit. You're just gonna click the file you saved it as and upload it and hit submit. Okay, so next, you're going to want to fill out your field placement agreement form, correct? Which actually,
What you could do also at this point is the supervision plan.
Yeah.
Because I really like the way that you did this, Michelle. Students can and should be looking for sites early, several months in advance before the semester starts. And you can submit your application at that time. But some of the other forms, like the field placement agreement, is the next really big important document to fill out. You won't even have access to that until your application is approved by your academic advisor. So while you're waiting for your academic advisor to review your academic audit and your application to approve it, you could be doing these other things. You could be looking for sites. You could be submitting your liability insurance. And if you've secured a field placement, have an a confirmed agreement with the site that you'll intern with them, you can then start the supervision plan and then the next agreement, which Michelle will show you next.
Sure. Thank you for explaining that further. I'll show you the supervision plan since I'm here, and then I'll show you what the field placement agreement form looks like. So for the supervision plan, this is something that you and your field placement supervisor will talk about and kind of both contribute to. So you'll hit open. I'll show you real quick just what it looks like. So again, it's just going to ask you to fill out some information about yourself, the date, and then your supervisor's information, like contact info, stuff like that. Next is going to ask you what some expectations are and how those will be met. So depending on which site you're at, you could be doing mostly group therapy, some sites only do individual, and you're going to talk with your supervisor about how many hours about you would do a week with different kinds of therapy. So for my site, it was a lot of family therapy sessions and individual sessions. So that's why you'll see that there. Next, you're going to want to click on the supervision modalities that are going to be used. So whether your supervisor will review your work through audio tape, videotape, direct observation, and just talking about like cases that you have too. And then the next section before the signatures is about your personal learning objectives. And it'll give you kind of examples you could include in these objectives. But again, this is something you'll talk about with your supervisor and work on planning out these objectives that you want to achieve for the semester. And mine's a little short. I would recommend writing, maybe about a paragraph, nothing, too lengthy, but, paragraph with some full sentences about what those objectives would look like. And then lastly, you're going to sign, and there'll be an option to choose who your supervisor is, and you'll submit that to them and just hit submit. Again, this would be a submit button instead of finish later. Okay, so next I will show you the field placement agreement form. Actually, I'm looking, it's not under assignments. I believe it's under the site placements tab. So I'm going to go to that. Okay, so even actually before your supervision plan, I probably did this a little out of order, but I just want to explain this here. Before your supervision plan, you're going to want to enter the site that you secured. So you'll click on that kind of plus button. And here's where we're going to have all of our sites listed. And you'll just find your site and hit the start button on the side as to which site you have. So I'm just going to go back. I'll show you what my site looks like. So I'm at Catholic Charities right now, so I'll hit open. And here's where you'll find the field placement agreement. So I'm going to click on that, hit open. And this is what it looks like. So it's going to ask you again, like what semester you're intending to do the either practicum or internship, the year, and some information about yourself. Then it's going to ask you to fill out information about the agency that you're at. And also some information about who your supervisor is and their contact information. And this agreement is going to be sent to your supervisor. So don't worry if in this section with the license and license number, you don't know that information. That's the section that they usually fill out. And it's also going to ask you to fill out the agency director information, which sometimes that might be the same person as your supervisor, not usually, but sometimes it works out that way. And then in this next section, it's going to just list what you'll be agreeing to. So kind of going over Monmouth's responsibilities, the agency's responsibilities, your supervisor's responsibilities, just so everybody's on the same page. And I just wanted to point out here that it's going to ask you like the semester dates, pretty much. That's what you would put here. So when your course starts and when it ends, which is the beginning and end semester dates. And I also wanted to make a note here too. It isn't online Tevera right now, but usually there is a semester dates form that students are asked to fill out. And it's something simple as just putting in the beginning and end of the semester dates that you're intending to take your field placement course. It goes through just a little more about, what's expected, insurance. I trust that, all of you will read this on your own. I don't want to take up too much time to explain everything. And then here is where you'll just check off that, you've agreed to it. You confirm that your site allows recordings that, you could take to class and also to your supervisor. And this is where your supervisor would check off that they've been licensed for at least 2 years. And
before
then
you move on, I'm sorry,
yeah,
before
sure.
you move on, can you scroll up just a little bit to those little boxes? just want to make some points to all the students. So this section, your supervisor has to click on those things. So for the field placement agreement, students fill out kind of like the top half, as Michelle was showing you, your demographics, maybe the agency name and contact information, but then, and the terms. Number two, the dates of the terms. As Michelle said, it's the beginning of the semester and the end of the semester is the term of this agreement, because you have to do a field placement agreement and all of this paperwork for every single semester you're going to do a practicum or internship course. So you need to do a new application and a new agreement every semester you're doing a field placement course. So fill out this agreement just for this semester, the beginning and the end. And so after that, the license information, these boxes at the bottom, that's what your supervisor will need to fill out, because this is your supervisor affirming that they're agreeing that they're going to meet with you individually for an hour to do supervision, that they're going to allow recordings, because in your practicum and internship courses, audio recordings are a requirement, absolute requirement for the class. If you have difficulty with that, sometimes COVID is throwing a little bit of a curveball with that. Just contact your professor and let them know, contact me and let me know, and we can work with you on that. But the department has a strict policy about needing to get audio recordings. So we need to have the site sign off on this. I will say one caveat, there's one or two sites out there for good reason that doesn't allow recordings. So you'll still have the supervisor click that box just because Tevera only allows this form to proceed if that box is checked. However, you'll just make arrangements with your professor and me and your site supervisor that for an alternative about that. Okay. So just have your site supervisor click on all three of those boxes.
Okay, and that's pretty much it for the field placement agreement form. Again, you would just wait for your supervisor to sign off on that and send it back into Tevera.
Michelle, before you move on, let's specify when you're going to who you're going to submit this to.
Oh yes, thank you. So this will be submitted to Matt and also to your supervisor to sign off on. But once they sign off on it, then this would be submitted to you, correct?
So I think it's when you click submit is when a little text box is going to pop up and say like, who do you want to submit it to? So the first person you submit it to, you select your site supervisor, because it needs to go to them first for them to complete this. And when they click submit, when they're done with it, it automatically will come to me, because you'll need to select me as the second signer. I think it's called like first signer and second signer. The first signer is your site. Yeah, there it is. Yep. Site supervisor. You click your site supervisor there. And then on second signer, you click me. So that way, when your site supervisor signs off on this agreement, it'll automatically get sent to me. And then I'll need to review it and sign it and approve it also. And so this document is very important, because this is largely, not entirely, but largely what we base registration on. So I register all students for all field placement courses. Students don't register themselves for that. So I do it, to be fair, in chronological order of when I receive these field placement agreements. So the sooner that you find a site and the sooner that you submit this signed agreement, then you'll be in queue to be registered for your course. And that's when you're most likely to get your first choice of a section. When you put your like top 3 choices in your field placement agreement, section 1, 2, 3, you're most likely to get your first choice when you do this on the earlier side. I do my very, very best every time for every student to get them into the course that they want. It's not always entirely possible to get your first choice. That's why we need to offer a couple of different sections as your choices. But this document is kind of important, because it's a pivot point for once you complete this, then you'll be eligible to register for the course. I won't be able to register you for the course if you don't have a field placement agreement in place.
Thank you for better explaining that.
You're doing great.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. So, as Matt said, this is a very important document, and this is going to be the first thing you're going to want to fill out once you have the site secured. And then I'll go back to the assignments, and then you could focus on filling out the supervision plan that I already went through and uploading the liability insurance. Because your supervision plan should come after you have the site secured and you know who your supervisor is. So I did that a little out of order. I apologize, but you would do that after the agreement form.
Sure, sure, but that's not too bad either. You can be doing the liability insurance. You can get it pretty much at any time. But just an
Yeah.
important note here is that all students have to have the liability insurance prior to starting your practicum, starting your internship. Before you see clients, you need to be insured. And these two documents that Michelle showed you, the liability insurance assignment and the supervision plan assignment, they're assignments for your course. This is even though these documents happen before the semester starts, we don't call them like pre-semester paperwork, like your field placement application and your field placement agreement. These two are an assignment for your actual course. They need to be done and submitted by the first day of the start of your practicum or internship class. So you need to access that through eCampus. When you go into eCampus and you see like the little tile for your class, you click on that and you submit it as an assignment. But you won't be able to access this until your course is posted on eCampus. Michelle, did that make sense? Would you clarify anything differently about that?
No, that made sense. Like you're going to want to have the course first, and then before the semester starts, like you said, this is these two things, the insurance and supervision plan, need to be filled out before the semester begins. And they're usually, submitted like to your course professor, whoever that is, to be reviewed. Okay, so moving on, we just got a couple more things to go through. So after everything's set, all your paperwork's good, and you're ready to start your field placement course, you're going to start entering hours into your timesheet whenever you start at your field placement. And so in order to enter in hours, you're going to have to start a timesheet first. And that's something as simple as going into assignments and just clicking on whatever internship or practicum timesheet is listed. And then it'll usually just ask you to open it. And that'll usually be it. I know, again, mine looks a little different because I already opened it. But this is what your timesheet looks like. And there is some super great tutorials on Tevera already that really walks you through the nuances of this. But I'll just quickly show you kind of what it's about. So up here, it'll have your track, your program, your site, and your supervisor. And then it looks like a calendar. And so you'll keep track of your direct client hours and what those hours are, and also your non-direct hours. And here's where you'll enter in like how many hours of supervision you've had that week, whether it's individual supervision or sometimes there's like peer meetings at your site, so you can include group supervision. And then it's going to ask you how you've used your time during these like indirect hours. So whether you were documenting sessions or just filling out any other form of documentation as a counselor, I'm sure you'll be filling out a lot of different things. If you've done any trainings, and this could count like if you've done training, I know I did like prior to even starting at your site. If they might ask you to do a few things before even starting, so you could count those hours. Just planning for sessions, case discussions. And then there's just another option if you're doing anything else for your site that's not really listed here. And I'll just show you really quick how to enter in like an hour. Let's just say I did an hour of individual counseling on this day. So you'll click on like the little blank space, just type in a 1 and hit enter, and it'll be entered in, and you won't have to click like a save button or anything. It's already taken care of. And then just real quick, I just want to show you on the side over here, it keeps track of like your total hours. So on the top, like total cumulative hours, and then it breaks it down by a section. So I would just recommend keeping track of this every week just to make sure that you're on track with your hours to complete the course. Okay.
That's really helpful to see those totals listed, because just want all the students to remember there is a difference between indirect hours and direct hours. And there are K-CREP requirements and requirements of our program to get minimum direct hours and minimum total hours. So for example, for practicum, you need a minimum of 100 hours across the whole semester, and at least 50 of those hours need to be directly working with clients, which count as like individual, family, group, that's listed on the screen now. And for internship, it's a minimum of 300 hours across the whole semester, and at least 150 of those hours need to be direct. So it's really monitoring the direct hours is critical. So I'd like that there are some totals here on the side that you can easily keep track.
Yes, thank you. And again, there's a couple great tutorials on Tevera that can really show you how to navigate through some of the more specific stuff in the timesheets. So next, I'm just going to show you how to submit a timesheet to your supervisor to sign off on, and also your course professor to sign off on. And that'll be found in assignments. So as you can see, it'll kind of keep track of like week 1 hours, week 2 hours, and so on. So I'll just show you real quick, even though mine's already submitted, like if I want to submit my week 1 hours, I'll click on that, hit open. Okay, actually, you know what, I'm gonna go back because it's totally different from what you'll see. So I'll go on a week where I didn't submit yet. So let's just do week 12 hours. So I'll hit start. And this is what you'll see. So it's going to ask you what week you want to submit for. So for week 12, you would hit like the start date of that week. So this would be the 18th. So I'll just hit that real quick. This is usually, all this information is usually good to go with like your program and, you know, which student is submitting it. For me, since I have 2 different tracks going on, it's going to ask me which track I want to submit it for. So I'm in internship 2 right now, so I'll hit that. And then it's going to ask you to put in your site supervisor. So just hit a random one. I know that's not my site supervisor. I know all of you know Dr. Ford. And then it's going to ask you to enter in your course professor. And then, okay, well, it's saying that he's not my site supervisor, but if I hit my supervisor, you would just hit send for signatures, and it would ask you to sign off on it by entering in your password, and then it's good to go to your supervisor and your course professor. Okay. And that's how you submit a timesheet. Pretty simple.
Michelle,
Okay.
when you click on send the report to the site supervisor, does it automatically go to the professor as well, or does it go to the professor after the site supervisor signs it?
So it goes to both at the same time, I believe, after you enter in their names. Yeah, I believe so. Actually, I'm not really 100% sure, but that's usually the case, I think. Okay, so no problem. So after about 6 weeks into your field placement course, there are midterm evaluations for your supervisor to fill out and also your course professor to fill out. And I'm just going to show you just what they look like really quick and how to submit it and where to find it. So under your assignments tab again. So you're going to click on that. And this is the one for your instructor. So I'll just show you that real quick. Okay, that is an issue. Because it's already filled out, I don't have permission to view it. But I'll just tell you real quick kind of what it looks like. It's just a bunch of scaling questions pretty much.
Can you go down to the final? Will you be able to see the final one?
Yes, actually.
They're identical. So there's a midterm evaluation and a final evaluation that your site supervisor completes, and your professor as well. So students need to prompt the midterm and final evaluations to be sent to the site supervisor. That's the student's task or responsibility in this assignment is to send it to the site supervisor. But the midterm eval and the final eval are identical, and that makes sense because this is looking to see, have you made progress over the course of the semester.
Thank you. And thank you for that suggestion. So I'll just show you real quick because like Matt said, they are identical. So you just want to make sure with the midterm evaluations and for the final ones that you send it in advance, maybe like a week or two prior to when it's due, because your supervisors are busy people, so it might take them a little while to get to it. So I would recommend sending it, about 2 weeks maybe before it's due. It's usually enough time. Show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is my instructor. Yeah, it's not letting me open this one for some reason either. I don't want to submit it before if it's not due yet. So I apologize for that. But again, they're really straightforward. They're just a lot of questions for your professors and supervisors of just rating you in different areas. And so you would just like open that form and then just hit submit. Usually I'm able to access them, but maybe it's a little too early on in the semester still for these. Okay, so once your midterm evaluations are due, keep track of your timesheets again, and then you'll have the final course evaluations for your instructor and supervisor as well, like I was explaining. But there's also 2 things for you to do as a student at the end of the semester, and that is the self-evaluation form and your field placement reaction form. So, about maybe a week or two, probably the last week of the semester is when these would usually be filled out. So I'll hit start for the self-evaluation form. Okay. And these are just kind of instructions about like what the scales mean on the form. And this is what it looks like. So kind of Likert scales, rating yourself on different areas, what you've been working on throughout the semester, reflecting. So different like basic counseling skills, goal setting. Again, like I don't want to take up too much time. I know you guys can read through this yourself, but this is like just basically what it looks like. I'll scroll to the end real quick. And it's going to, so once you fill this out, there's an area for your supervisor to fill out about what they've observed about you. So you would leave that blank. And then just hit which field placement course you're entering it for. And this is where you would sign it and then send it off. So I'll go back real quick. And then next would be the field placement reaction form. We'll click on that really quickly too. Okay, so it's going to ask you just like, which field placement you're reacting to. So entering in that information, the year, the course number that you're in. And again, just like basic Likert scale questions, asking you about different areas. So whether there was timely involvement in direct service for you. There's questions about like how your supervision went. And again, I know you guys can read through this, so I'm not going to take up time going through every single question. And then there's an area for comments in different sections. There's a breakdown of it. And just any like additional comments at the end that you want to add. And then you'll sign off on it and submit it. And this is submitted to your course professor. And Matt, is it submitted to you as well?
No, so I wanted to make a comment here is, thank you, Michelle, that the last 2 documents Michelle was just showing you, the one was a self-evaluation. So you kind of evaluate how you feel that you did over the course of the semester with various counseling skills and such. And this is an opportunity, this form, the field placement reaction form, is an opportunity for you to give feedback about the site. So obviously there's all the different criteria about whether you agree or disagree about whether your site did this or your supervisor did that, but there's also areas for comments. So I review these after each semester, and they can be really helpful for getting student feedback about their experiences at sites. So obviously you want to be respectful in your language, but if you ever have positive feedback, please include that. That is really helpful. If you have negative feedback, neutral feedback, it's all helpful. So I encourage you to be thoughtful about the field placement reaction form. It's a time for you to be able to give some feedback about your site.
Thank you. Okay, we are just about nearing the end of this tutorial. I just have two other really quick things to show you guys. So at the end of the semester, you're going to be asked, after you fill out the evaluation and the field placement reaction form, just to enter in your total semester hours. And that looks exactly like submitting a timesheet. So I don't feel the need to kind of go through that, but you would just click on that. Actually, you know what, I'll show you real quick since I'm here. But again, it looks exactly like submitting a time, like a regular weekly timesheet. Instead, it would just ask you for like the date range. So you would put in the beginning of the semester and the end of the semester dates. And this would be submitted to both your site supervisor and your course professor. So that is it for all of your assignments for the semester. They can all be found under that one tab, so they're all in one place. And the last thing I want to show you, because I was in this situation actually where I stayed at my site for more than a semester. So there is an option on here, so you don't have to go through totally everything again to extend your site placement. So I'm going to show you that real quick. And that's
I want to make
under,
a comment about this.
Sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Michelle. I sent you
That's
a
okay.
chat. I don't know if it was visible on the Zoom recording or not, but we're rethinking this extend placement option.
Okay.
So Michelle's about to show you where if you stay at the same site for a second semester in a row, you can use this extend placement. But we may be getting rid of that, sooner than later. So go ahead and show it just so if it is still available to students. But at some point, I just want the students to know, don't be surprised if it's not available to you.
Okay.
It's
Thank you.
we've seen some pros and cons with it, so we're weighing whether it's really worth keeping.
Yeah, I know there was some glitches for people with just having their supervisor and stuff, but I will show you guys real quick. So it's under your site placements tab. So if, let's just say I plan to stay at Catholic Charities again, I would kind of, okay, well, it's already removed. Sorry about that, guys. Usually there's like 3 dots here in the right corner of this little box. And it would you would hit those 3 dots and there'd be just one option for extend site placement. And you would follow the steps that, would be listed to do that. But yeah, it was just there the other day, so I'm a little confused as to why it's not.
Yeah, we just had a meeting about it, so I
Okay.
think that they may have been proactive about taking that down. It just
No
wasn't
problem.
as beneficial as we were hoping it would be for students. Michelle, so you showed everyone earlier on the bottom left how you add a placement. So once students have secured a site, they need to add their placement to their portfolio here. Sometimes students intern at 2 sites within the same semester. So if you do, this is also where you would add the second site, right? Michelle, are you able to access the site qualification form anywhere? Because a frequently asked question is if students go to add a placement and it's not there. Students, just so you know, are allowed to find a field placement site that's not on this pre-approved list, but it just needs to be vetted. So I need to make sure that it's a qualifying site. So there's a form to do that. It's called the site qualification form. And I'm thinking, Michelle, that would be like under the pre-semester paperwork, if you can kind of go to that area.
Yeah, sure. And I'm also, there is an option under the find a site to suggest a site. So, but I'll look under the.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So you just need to fill out the site qualification form, which just answers questions about our requirements for each site, and that gets submitted to me. So I'll review it and then approve it or not approve it. Not showing up here?
No.
Okay.
This would
So
usually be the place I would assume it would be found, but
yeah, same here. So that'll be in the next tutorial, where to find the
yes.
site qualification form. But just for the students to know that that is a form that you need to fill out if it's a site that we haven't used before. So don't get startled if you can't find your site on our list already. It can always be added as long as it's a qualifying site. All right.
Awesome.
Anything else you wanted to discuss before we go, Michelle?
I believe that's it. And again, like if any of you guys have questions about navigating Tevera, I recommend either going to those tutorials first or messaging the tech support, because they are super helpful. If your questions aren't answered there, I know that students have been sending Matt emails about Tevera, but I highly recommend just trying those two places first, because most questions can be answered through there.
Yeah, that is a point I want to emphasize, so that I'm not inundated with emails about Tevera, which I kind of am right now. It's not really efficient for me to do answer all of those for everyone, when you can find the answers for yourself, very easily. Go to the tutorials on the left there. Your first option, if you have a question about Tevera, and really it is the best option, even better than me, because I'm not a master at Tevera. Click the help button on the top right there. They're very responsive. They get back to you pretty quickly and have good answers for you. You can also then email Tevera, support@tevera.com. Lastly would be, instead of emailing me a question about Tevera, if you went to the help button and entered a question into the chat and they were not able to resolve it, and you emailed support@tevera.com and they were unable to resolve the problem, or if they answered you back and said, oh, that's an administration thing that Monmouth has to do, then you can email Tevera@monmouth.edu. Tevera@monmouth.edu, not mterrell@monmouth.edu. Tevera@monmouth.edu, because that will be reviewed by a couple of people who would be able to address your question on our end. Okay, and we would want to see what the help desk, what Tevera's help team already told you. For efficiency's sake, don't do all three things at once. Start with the help button or the support@tevera.com. Wait for their answers. When you get their answers, if it's still an unresolved issue, then you contact Tevera@monmouth.edu with maybe a screenshot of the chat with the help desk, or a screenshot of what they told you, so that we can be informed about what you've already explored and what hasn't worked yet. Okay, so. Michelle, thank you so much. You were fantastic with this, as always. And this is going to be, I think, a great resource for students to come. So I appreciate you taking your time and doing this. Really appreciate students watching this and learning about this. Hopefully we'll answer a lot of your Tevera related questions. All right. If you ever need additional support, feel free to contact me anytime. Take care, everyone. Be well.